we'll go over the most straightforward way. We go to our account where we've logged in. Under herd management, we go to recording, and then calves. In this example, we'll register 10 fall calves. This generates a work queue, which if you move or lose service or in any way disconnect, can always be found back in the birth recording queues. For these, if we know the registration number of the dam, we can type it here, or using this button, we'll bring up all of your breeding age cows within the system. We select the cow. We have the option to enter a temperament score on that cow taken at the time the calf was born. This ranges from 1 to 6 in the pull-down menu, from docile to very aggressive. We'll mark this cow as docile. We can also score her udder, with suspension being scored from 1 to 9, with 9 being the best and tightest suspension. And we can also score her teat, with 1 being large, unnatural sized teats, and 9 being small, very refined teats. We can either type the birth weight of the calf, or we can select a birth date using the calendar tool. If you'd like to move back a year, you can use the tool in that regard. These arrows will take you back by the month. Service type, with NS standing for natural service, AI for artificial insemination, and ET for embryo transplant. This calf was an AI calf, and as you see, this cow already had breeding information entered earlier in the system, so that populates with the AI animal that matches with the birth date of this calf. If she did not have breeding information, we could select the sire using this button from our quick sire list. As you can see, the following bulls were AI'd to the dam during the conception period, so we can select him directly. Next, we can select whether we'd like to register this animal or not. As we move along, the tab button can be used to move directly through here. Any herd prefixes that are associated with your main account will be available here under herd prefixes. We'll enter the tattoo for this animal. He's born in 2014, so he's a B letter code. Tag number does not have to be entered, but can be if you would like. Sex, we can choose either bull or cow. For bulls that will be registered as steers, we can edit them later after we have registered them, or we can edit them later at weaning and yearling time. HP and S is horn, polled, and scurred status. This can either be left blank if you do not have that information, or it can be selected here. Color selections. You can select from any one of these colors using either the drop-down menu or your arrow keys. Birth weight can be entered here. Calving score, rather than a 1 through 5, you can select again from the drop-down menu or use your arrow keys to move up and down. Tab will move you over. Your twin code allows you to select whether it was a single, a twin to a bull, twin to heifer, or part of a multiple. If you have multiple management groups, say you want to split your first calf heifers from your cows in the group, you can enter that here, or leave that blank if all of your cows have been managed the same. As we continue to move across, we'll enter the name of this animal. You can select if that animal is still in your herd, if you moved him to the commercial herd, if he was a stillborn, died at birth, or was born alive and before weaning. This automatically puts a season on the animal. You can keep that season. It won't change anything for you, or you can select no season. Breeding information is able to be entered here. This is already pre-populated with the AI date on that animal from the breeding data entered before. If it was a pasture exposure, you could put that pasture exposure information here. Again, you can select those dates right there. Embryo information. If we had already transferred an embryo into that cow, that could be pre-populated here as well. We can select that recipient dam from our list of dams. And if we have an animal that we're going to be entering and performing a DNA test on, we can enter that barcode at that time. The X over here on the right, if you have too many animals on this sheet, after you have entered them all, you can X those out and get rid of those. After you've entered that information, we go down to the bottom center of all the data, and we can click Validate in order to check all that data before we commit it to the registry system to make sure there are no mistakes or errors in the system taking that data. So now that all our data is entered, we can see two different colors designating the two different contemporary groups in this data that I've entered. Now that it's all entered, we're going to go over to the bottom center to validate. We click Validate, and the system will check all of our data against the restraints needed for it to fit into the NALF system. As you can see, any errors that might come up are represented here. Here we have a calf that's missing its year code and its tattoo, and anything that might be incorrect is already designated here in red. So add his year code, we'll change the information on these animals. Hopefully we didn't make this mistake and already put these tattoos in their ears. And we validate again. If you were to click Commit to Registry at this time, those animals that had errors would not be committed to the registry. Now we see after validation, no errors showing up. And we click Commit to Registry. Once our system has processed all of those, we can see all of their data listed here, and we can generate a weaning worksheet for these animals that will give you the ideal dates to record their information in order to fit the contemporary groups as large as they can be. Also, these animals that are of age to be weaned have a button here to add those to the weaning queue, where we could go ahead and enter their weaning information at this time. Animals here at the bottom that are too young to be included do not have the option to be added to the system.